Have you ever looked at someone's success and thought, why not me? Maybe they're smarter, richer, or more talented, and you start feeling like you'll never be enough. But what if I told you you're not supposed to be like them? Because just like a fish can never fly, but can swim across the whole ocean, you too have your own strength, your own path. Today's story will remind you why comparing yourself to others only steals your peace, and how finding your path can change everything.
Have you ever looked at someone's success and thought, why not me? Maybe they're smarter, richer, or more talented, and you start feeling like you'll never be enough. But what if I told you you're not supposed to be like them? Because just like a fish can never fly but can swim across the whole ocean, you too have your own strength, your own path. Today's story will remind you why comparing yourself to others only steals your peace, and how finding your path can change everything. One of the biggest pains in life is comparing yourself to others. We see someone doing better than us, smarter, richer, more successful, and deep down we start to feel small. We think, why is she so successful and I'm not? But we rarely stop to understand her path and mine are not the same. Remember this: if a fish spends its life trying to fly like a bird, it will always feel like a failure, even if it can swim across the entire ocean. And in today's world of social media, this habit has become even worse. We scroll, we compare, and we forget our own value. That's why today's story is for anyone who has ever felt, I'll never be as good as them. Listen carefully, because every line in this story can change the way you think. Once in a small peaceful village near a big forest, there lived a boy named Ethan. Ethan was hardworking, honest, and kind. But he had one habit that made him deeply unhappy: he always compared himself to others. When he saw his friend Liam scoring the best grades, he thought, I wish I was as smart as him. When he saw his neighbor Ryan living in a big house and owning many things, he thought, I wish I had that kind of money. Even when he saw someone run faster or speak better, Ethan would sigh and whisper, why can't I be like them? Slowly, these thoughts started eating him from the inside. That he couldn't focus on his studies, he lost interest in his hobbies, and no matter what he did, he felt it was never enough. He told himself every day, I'll never be like them. One day, a wise old man visited the village. Everyone called him Grandpa Joe. He was known for his wisdom and calm nature. Whenever someone was sad or confused, they'd go to Grandpa Joe for advice. So one evening, Ethan gathered courage and went to see him. He said, Grandpa, I work hard, but every time I see someone doing better than me, I feel small. It feels like I'll never be good enough. Grandpa Joe smiled kindly and said, come to the oldest tree near the forest tomorrow morning. I'll show you something that will answer your question. Ethan agreed, curious but unsure what Grandpa Joe meant. The next morning, the sun was shining softly as Ethan walked to the old tree. Grandpa Joe was already there, smiling. He said, Ethan, look around. What do you see? Ethan looked carefully and said, there are so many different trees here. Some are tall, some are short, some have fruits, some don't. Grandpa Joe nodded and said, now imagine if the apple tree looked at the coconut tree and said, why am I so short? Or the coconut tree said, I wish I had sweet fruits like the apple tree. Wouldn't that sound silly? Ethan laughed. Yes, Grandpa. That would be silly. Grandpa Joe smiled. Exactly. Every tree here has its own beauty, its own purpose. The apple tree gives sweet fruits, the coconut tree gives strong wood and fresh water. They're different, but both are important. If every tree wanted to be the same, this forest would lose its beauty. Ethan stood silent, beginning to understand. Then Grandpa Joe said, come with me. They walked toward a small pond. There, fish were swimming gracefully in the water, while a bird was flying freely in the sky. Grandpa Joe pointed and said, now imagine if the fish said, I wish I could fly like that bird. Would that make sense? Ethan smiled and replied, of course not. Fish are made for swimming and birds are made for flying. Grandpa Joe gently placed his hand on Ethan's shoulder and said, then why, my boy, do you want to be like someone else? You have your own path, your own strengths. You just haven't discovered them yet. If you keep comparing yourself to others, you'll forget the gifts you already have. Ethan's eyes widened as he felt something shift inside him, a heavy weight beginning to lift. From that day onward, Ethan stopped comparing himself to anyone. He began focusing on his journey, his goals, his growth. He studied with full attention, worked with patience, and believed in his own timing. Days turned into months. His confidence slowly returned. He smiled more. He felt lighter. A few years later, Ethan started his own small business. Through hard work and consistency, it grew beyond what anyone expected. He became an inspiration for the whole village. Whenever someone asked him, "Ethan, how did you become so successful?" he would smile and say, "Never compare yourself with others. If a fish tries to fly, it will always feel like a failure. But if it focuses on swimming, it can own the whole ocean." So remember this: the sun and the moon don't shine at the same time, but both are important. Don't chase someone else's light. Create your own. Your journey is different, your timing is different, and your success will come in its own way. So stop comparing, start believing, and walk your path, because that's where real peace begins. If you like this story, make sure to like, share, and follow for more stories that touch the heart. See you again in the next one.